Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Pants Optional. It's Pop Cult HQ's Zoom interview segment where we speak with comic book creators and talk about their latest projects and get the lowdown, but from the waist up. I'm Jason Bennett, Chief Editor of Pop Cult HQ. Today I'm joined by a returning two-time guest here on Pants Optional, where we discussed his book, The 27 Run, and the 27 Run Crush back in October of 2020 for episode 16, as well as episode 10, where we talked about his original graphic novel, The Killing Jar, which coincidentally we are discussing today as the title has been picked up for development by William Kaufman and Throttle Films. So please welcome the creator and writer of The Killing Jar, Justin Zimmerman. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you again for having me in the enthusiastic intro. I'm very excited about this.
Definitely. Yeah, it's great news. Before we get too much into it, can you just give people just a quick rundown of The Killing Jar, just a brief synopsis and of the story itself, and then we'll get into all the showbiz news.
Yeah, it's basically a neo-Western horror mashup with a strong female lead. Sam Peckinpah with a amazing central character named Anna. So Anna and her little brother live in this backwater Colorado town, and all of the townspeople have gone crazy with drug lust, and there's no way really to get out. So a couple cool things happen. The original drug runners, who have no idea what they've unleashed on this town, roll in. A couple police officers, errant police officers, show up. And basically everything goes to hell in a handbasket. It's the most fun, visceral, and exciting thing that I've ever written. And it finally came out across the country at the end of last year. And just last month got optioned by this pretty amazing production company. And I would love to see this on the screen. So I'm glad to be here talking about it.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a massive 224-page black and white graphic novel that you did with Russ Brown, and August 26th, was it? Did it come out last year?
I can't remember exactly the time. I think it was around my birthday.
I know it was released to the direct market for the first time.
Yep.
And this time go around. So how did this deal come together with Kaufman and Throttle Films for the adaptation of The Killing Jar?
Well, like you mentioned, I mean, we wanted to give it like a strong classic horror vibe. So we shot straight from the pencils. I wouldn't have been able to do it without an independent artist as talented as Russ. Give it a kind of a super 16 black and white film feel. And this thing had an amazing independent run through Kickstarter, and then eventually came out, like you said, through the direct market from a publisher, Wave Blue World. And it had been scouted and sought out for a long time. It's very visual. It's a great hook. The characters are very strong, and it was built from the ground up to be a ride. So what a better project to bring to life on the screen. But I really wanted to make sure that there was going to be the right kind of partnership behind the scenes, something that's that personal, that I own completely, that is mine. And so I actually saw years and years ago this independent film with one of my favorite actors, Lance Henriksen, called Daylight's End at the Portland International Film Festival. And I was kind of blown away by the action chops. And lo and behold, these years later, including thanks to a former student of mine, David Brandon, who actually wound up here in the Pacific Northwest as well, and was connected to the Throttle crew. William came back and said, not only do I want to option this, but I want to be attached as the director. This is important to me. I would like to bring this to life. And so we spent a little bit of time coming up with the kind of the IP contract, and it's really, really wonderful and remarkable. And he's the right person to take it to the next level.
Yeah, and you've received some great praise from Kaufman, who is slated to direct and produce the adaptation. What's your working relationship going to be like on The Killing Jar's production? Will you be on set or in an advisory capacity? What kind of role do you play in this?
No, I mean, it's a great question. So I not only get to write the first draft of the screenplay, but contractually get to write the first revision as well. So in the film world, of course, a lot of people are going to have their hands in the final product, and I understand that completely. But it gets to go as far as I can possibly take it as the creator before other people get involved, which I'm really, really proud about. I also am a full producer on the project and retain the IP rights, including what comes next with the project. I have a sequel very much in mind, and I would like to bring that to life on the page as well. And so all those things are mine during this process. Will and his producing partner Ed get to do what they do best, which is bring this thing in front of the cameras and to make all of these moments real. That is such a huge responsibility. And while I'm excited to be part of it, they're going to get to run with it. And Ed, Ed's a really remarkable writer and talented actor himself. So it's nice to be to be working with these kind of professionals.
Yeah, it sounds like a great team that you've paired yourself up with. Hey, something when I was going over getting ready, prepping for this interview, I looked back on our interview from episode 10 back in August of last year when we were discussing the Killing Jar, and you stated something. I want to read back a quote that you stated and kind of get your perspective on it now. Just
I'm massively interested in what you're about to ask. I have no idea.
It really surprised me. I had to do a double take, and then I'm like, I need to bring this up. So you were talking about collaborating with Russ and with this idea and putting it in graphic novel format, into a comic book and doing it that way. You said, what I had written was so big that it was never going to be able to be translated to the screen, not at the level I was at all. What do you think about, looking back? I mean, this is just, 8 months ago.
I think I think it's still absolutely true. So, I got my master's in film about 18 years ago now. I have produced a feature-length documentary, science fiction, thrillers, directed multiple feature projects in different realms, but no one is going to hand me the keys to this kingdom, right? Not yet. And so that's really why you look for people who are excellent in their realms in order to get things to the next place. 10 years ago, when I started working on, weirdly enough, because I'm getting much older, much faster than I anticipated. But 10 years ago, when I started working on The Killing Jar, I didn't have 2 feature-length films underneath my belt. I hadn't written screenplays that had been optioned. I hadn't even, it was my first graphic novel project. So then I certainly knew that there was no way I was going to be able to get these ideas out anywhere other than on the printed page. Now, maybe I would have a better chance of it, but my goodness, much like when you're writing a comic book, you're like, I have a great idea, but I want to find the perfect artist to take it to the next level, and you give them direction and you give them advice, and then you let them go do your thing. This is a team effort, and something this big with a scale this large where action and performance are so important. You're waiting for folks like Will and Ed to come along and say, let's find a way to work together and bring this from the page to life. And then for their part, I can hand them a graphic novel they could literally kill somebody with if they threw it at somebody and said, here is a version of the film on the page. Go, take it to the wider visual world. So yeah, I think that we're in a good place, and I'm just excited to see what happens next on this crazy ride that is this graphic novel.
Definitely, me too. I'm really excited for you. But The Killing Jar isn't the only project that caught Throttle Films' eye. You've also had something else picked up by them, isn't that right?
Yeah, I wrote a spec script a number of years ago called Break-In, and this was a very personal project. It's intense, it's dark, it's character driven, and it's weirdly enough based on the site of the protests and the sometimes riots in downtown Portland. And that building, which has been guarded and kind of enclosed now for time out of mind. I got full tours of that, took pictures of that. It was literally the setting for this kind of noirish detective kind of prison break-in project. And so it was kind of a confluence of events where it became even more relevant after the happenings of this past year. So they were excited to bring that into their realm. And because nobody literally has ever seen this, like this was something that I was excited about and proud about and did almost as this long form exercise, but thought it was too complicated, too dark, too ahead of its time, that it wasn't going to see the light of day. Well, for good or for bad, we are here now, and the script makes all the more sense. And so they added that onto their agenda for the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
So that will be neat to see if and where that goes as well.
We'll definitely be on the watch and keep our ear to the ground on that one. So with all this going on in just a short amount of time, what's next for you, for Justin Zimmerman? Are you working on other IPs, still staying in doing some comics, or are you branching out in other forms of media now?
We it's always been interesting because I've always balanced the film work with the comic work, and this next year is going to be no different. I'll tell you before I've told anybody else. So Ethan Clonch, who drew the majority of the 27 run Crush, and I signed a co-creator agreement half a year ago, and I've had a first script for him in the can for 4 months, give or take. By the end of this year, we'll have a first issue out. We are taking an extraordinary amount of time building this world. So no one's really going to know that it exists until they see it for the first time. But when they do, it's going to blow them away. In the meantime, I still have a documentary going into film festivals across the world. I'm doing another documentary this year called Soldier, which I'm very excited about trauma and PTSD. And I have a music video, a comic book, motion comic music video for Jack the Radio that is going along to comic book conventions and film fests as well. So it's just going to be a balance like normal of making things and supporting things and seeing what happens next.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look for that Jack the Radio thing. We had George Hodge on here on an earlier episode, and learned quite a bit. Very, very talented guy.
So George, actually, I talk with George continually because of that piece, but actually George is very involved in the score for Soldier. So it's just another way that you continue on those relationships moving forward. It's going to be a neat year for sure.
Definitely love it. Well, everyone, be sure to follow Justin Zimmerman. We've definitely by now included all the graphics to ways to follow him online. And you can pick up The Killing Jar at fine book retailers and online retailers, Amazon.com and stuff now. And Justin, thank you so much, and congratulations, man, for all the success you can enjoy, man. It's really exciting to see, and I'm pumped for what's coming to the screen.
Man, I appreciate it. Appreciate the conversation, and definitely don't forget, or anybody watching this, that I started working on The Killing Jar over a decade ago. So believe in things, work on them, make them best you can, and then put them out in the world and move on to the next project. You never know what's going to come back.
Just keep moving forward. Good deal. Hey, thanks so much, man.
Take care, bud.